Greetings shippers, welcome back, and it's Voltron time. For the duration of its at the time ongoing, short, and quite successful run, Voltron has become a fandom favorite. It has amassed a variety of different sorts of fans, and shippers are no exception. Indeed, from the beginning, shipping has been a huge part of this fandom community, with ships exploding left, right, center, and new ones arising every single season. And none have loomed so large, soared so high, or garnered so much praise and criticism as Klance. Klance has been around since the very beginning, that being the pairings of paladins, or in the case of one of them, former paladin, Sheith and Lance. Now, while the fandom has been an exciting, fun, and creative space for many, it has not been without its rocky moments, especially when it comes to shipping. In this area, there have been many shipping wars, and they have been fueled by a variety of factors, from the shippers themselves and their own enthusiasm for their pairings, to contestation about various official statements, be they from voice actors, production staff, executive producers, tie-in materials of varying validity or canonicity. So all in all, be it positive or negative, Klance has been quite the experience for those involved in it, and we've talked about it plenty on this channel. The first time after seasons 1 and 2, then we did a fan art contest, and we also covered the Blackmail controversy. I will link all of that down below, or you can click the card if you're interested in seeing what was going on back then and just feeling the overall vibe and tone, because fandom changes very quickly. And the fandom of today is not the fandom of yesterday, or even last week. Since those days, people have been asking for a Klance update, especially after season 3. So I figured, you know what, why not? Season 5 recently happened at the time of this recording, so let's do an update. Let's chart the ship's course in real time, or at least sort of kind of after the season first aired. Recently. Topical. So, without further ado, even though I'm sure people already feel there has been too much to do, let's talk about Klance post season 5 and see where these two sit. Let's do it.
The tale of Klance is one that is shared by many popular dominant ships, in that they are hard to predict as the show is ongoing, so the fandom realm can shift abruptly in huge ways. Klance has a wide array of shippers, engaged with the pairing in a variety of ways. Amongst these shippers are some with a vested interest in either the ship becoming canon or the belief that the ship is canon or will soon become canon, and this belief was at its zenith following season 3. Even leading up to it, some fans claimed that the ship was practically canon, and with the two sharing a moment of confidence in season 3, these shippers felt that they were on their way to canon legitimacy. However, all of that changed with season 4 and then 5, where interactions between these two characters dwindled to near non-existence. Now, while this may have made some question how feasible the ship will be canonically, and perhaps re-examine whether it was truly ever all that prevalent within the subtext, or if it was just the shippers' own excitement magnifying what was there, this of course does not mean that Klance is gone, nor should it, as fandom does not necessarily need to be dependent on canon to survive. Far from it. For one, characters need not interact in some cases ever for them to be shipped, and in Klance's case, it was already going strong before the moments dwindled. And some fans do not feel that the moments have actually dwindled that significantly if one examines the subtext of the later seasons. And of course, not all shippers have a vested interest that this ship do become canon, though of course most shippers do not feel saddened when their ship does come to fruition. And for many of those vested in the ship becoming canon, it does come from a positive place of wanting to see more LGBT representation on screen, especially within children's programming. Though of course many people's mileage varies as to whether or not that is necessary or warranted, but that is of course a discussion for another time. Suffice it to say, there are some who will always be behind Klance no matter what. While some are disappointed by the lack of interaction of late, others have taken to fanfiction to rectify it with missing scenes, AUs, and other creative fare. And Klance is so large that it continues to be the case that some people encounter this ship before the actual source material, so Klance can grow completely independently of Voltron itself. All of this keeps the fandom passion burning even if the show itself is providing little fodder at the moment. This lack of canonical Klance moments, though some could argue they were always rare, this drastic reduction has created a breathing room for some less invested or more flexible shippers to explore other ships alongside Klance. This can involve either our two protagonists involved in this pairing or any combination of other characters, as the show has taken some time to explore some of its other protagonists and antagonists. More seasons have also allowed people to examine Voltron a bit more objectively without needing to label it as perfect, as it is established now as its own source material that isn't going anywhere. It has its strengths and weaknesses, like any work. While it has fun, relatable characters and breathtaking action and some very cool visuals, at times the pacing and character development are not always their strongest, and the sudden lack of focus on characters' struggles or plots for episodes only to be abruptly taken up again later on is one such observation, and is part of the reason for the fluctuation in Klance, as focus abruptly shifted and these characters went in very different directions. fans. Nevertheless, the show is still a very enjoyable romp, and most of the characters do experience some very cool character moments. And for lovers of Keith and Lance, even without direct interaction, the universe and plots are providing ample fuel. Indeed, each character has grown individually, and many are excited to see how that impacts their official reunion, even if they have already plotted some fanon ones. This duality has always been present in Klance because of the many aforementioned differences in how people come to ship Klance, especially if they are driven on by outside canon factors, such as the interviews or questions asked at cons, as this is a huge way in which Klance has continued to grow, with many seeing answers given at such events as proof. It is not uncommon for fans to ask questions about their favorite pairings at cons, and as a result, actors and members of creative staff must answer. But it is rare for their answers to be united, and this has always been the case with Klance, with certain participants such as Jeremy Sheith always giving enthusiastic responses, even his most recent at the time of this recording in March of 2018, saying that Klance was entirely possible, and that fans wouldn't be disappointed. Many Klance shippers took this as proof that Klance was indeed coming somewhere down the pipeline, as Jeremy Sheith has a reputation for not being able to keep spoilers to himself. However, on the flip side, you have interviews such as the ones given by executive producers Lauren Montgomery and Joaquim Dos Santos that do not seem to indicate that Klance was something either anticipated or necessarily something that is in development, with Montgomery saying, "Yeah, I'm just going to invite all the hate mail on myself and say I wasn't expecting Klance. We knew about shipping, but I had no idea that those two characters would just take off such the way that they did. That was kind of a surprise to all of us. Just to see that thing, that ship, just dominate was like, whoa, where did this come from?" To which the interviewer asks, "Yeah, that's just it. Fans will find any inkling of anything and will just blossom into so much more." To which Joaquim Dos Santos says, "I think strangely enough, let's say in another universe, we were to completely go down a road relationship-wise. It's forbidden fruit that makes it a desirable thing. It's those little inklings that people are able to find and make their own that makes it such a special thing versus if it were just served up on a platter. It wouldn't really resonate as much." An interview such as this one gives the impression that all of those moments weren't necessarily Easter eggs, but things that fans were drawing upon themselves. However, many Klance shippers feel that this interview is a misdirect, trying to downplay the Klance that is there to make it a surprise. In this way, Voltron plays into the ever-emerging question of how much can creators comment on fandom and which members of a staff opinions actually mean something when it comes to canon. Who can you believe and who should you believe? And should you believe anybody? How much can people involved in the creation of a project comment on fandom? It is clear that fans want them to, but how much? It is still a minefield that people are learning to navigate. It must be known that fans will either take or disregard what they want based on how they feel. For example, Jeremy Klance comments will always be taken in a better light than, say, Joss Keaton's Shaladin comments. It just depends on how the fandom feels. So all of this must be taken with a grain of salt. It must be known that no one has come out and said that Klance is 100% definitely happening, and that these staff members are being placed in the position where they must comment on Klance, keep what is going on in the production secret, and yet also appease fans. It is a very difficult space to navigate. As a result, a lot of toxicity can come from these oftentimes contradictory interviews, with people attacking either the actors, executive producers, other shippers, and hence toxicity in fandom builds. For this reason, for those wanting to avoid loss of toxicity, it is best to stay away from some of the superfluous fan engagement, which is a shame, and some people feel that indicates that the fandom is truly toxic, as people should be able to interact with all elements. However, alas, that is rarely the case. It must be noted that most people who are getting excited about Klance are not doing so in an attempt to make the environment toxic, but just because they have so much passion for this ship and want to see where it is going and are hoping to get answers if they can. Indeed, the question and answer period is one of the most beloved aspects of the con culture. Now, it must be noted that Voltron as a fandom has developed a reputation for being a little, or in some cases a lot, toxic, particularly when it comes to the shipping wars between Klance and Sheith, with antis and anti-antis and defenders and all kinds of rhetoric and vitriol flying on all sides, making it a bit daunting for some to engage with the fandom, yet alone this pairing. Indeed, some fans are drifting away from Klance for that reason, not for a lack of love of the ship, but for the fandom surrounding it. And some find themselves embarrassed to say that they do ship Klance, just completely done with the drama that can be the fandom roller coaster. Others are simply tired of fighting, and wonder how this show has managed to become so controversial, which means for some, they simply stop and focus on creating and enjoying Klance works. Indeed, there are many great, kind Klance shippers out there, and if you're one of them, don't be embarrassed about your ship, and just keep spreading your your positivity out there. For those just getting into Klance, the environment is in certain instances more mild than when Keith and Lance had more interactions, and it is easier to find multi-shippers and poly-shippers than ever before. And fear not, Klance is not going anywhere anytime soon, with new works, be they fics, art, fan mixes, or what have you, not just appearing daily but hourly, in some cases even faster. Indeed, the ship is becoming even more creative as it must find ways to bridge the canonical gap being left by the series, which is often where shippers derive their most passionate fuel, from this very need that they do not see being met. As the series goes on, one must wait and see what the future holds in store for these two, and if Keith will even have time for anything like that moving forward given his latest character reveal at the end of season 5. Only time will tell.
Whew. So guys, I have lots of questions as always, so get ready. How do you feel about the dwindling interactions between these two? Are you Klance shippers at all? How have you found the fandom environment of late? Better? Worse? Do you feel that all of the news of toxicity was over-exaggerated? And of course, how did you feel about season 5? I want all of your answers to as many of the questions as you can bear down below. All I can say is season 5 was a trip. All hail Lotor. There's gonna have to be some Lotor ship videos to come. I mean, with glorious hair like that, he can be shipped with anybody. And I'm still pondering why they were advertising this season with a cup of coffee. I mean, I guess there were lots of episodes that would have been great coffee shop AUs. More than a few now that I think about it. Yeah. I can get with that. Thank you so much for watching. It is time to stop rambling. Follow me on social media to stay up to date, and let us get to that outro. And I'll see you guys soon.
This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons' names on the side. More Voltron coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. And as always, just stay tuned in general, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.